Hello and welcome to Racext Academy, the online platform where you can learn everything about mechanics for motorcycles and cars. I'm Dave, your instructor and guide for this channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to bleed brakes by yourself without needing any help from a friend or a mechanic. Bleeding brakes is a simple and important maintenance task that you should do regularly to keep your brakes working properly and safely. If you notice that your brake pedal feels spongy or soft, or that your brakes are not as responsive as they should be, it's time to bleed them and get rid of any air bubbles that might have entered the system. There are different methods to bleed brakes by yourself, depending on the tools and time you have available. I'm going to explain 5 of them: gravity bleeding, bottle bleeding, vacuum pump bleeding, reverse bleeding, and pressure bleeding. All of them require some basic tools and supplies, such as a wrench, a hose, a container, brake fluid, and brake cleaner. You can find all these items at your local auto parts store or online. Before you start any of these methods, make sure you have enough brake fluid for your vehicle and that you use the correct type of fluid for your brake system. You can check your owner's manual or the cap of the master cylinder for this information. The first method is gravity bleeding. This is the easiest and slowest way to bleed brakes by yourself. All you have to do is fill up the master cylinder reservoir with fresh fluid, then loosen the bleeder screw on the wheel farthest from it, usually the right rear, and let the fluid drain out by gravity until no air bubbles come out. You need to keep an eye on the master cylinder and top it off regularly to prevent it from running dry. You also need to wait at least an hour between each wheel to let the fluid flow out completely. This method works best for modern cars with the master cylinder mounted high on the firewall. The second method is bottle bleeding. This is similar to gravity bleeding, but faster and more convenient. You need a jar or a bottle with a lid that has 2 holes, one for a hose that connects to the bleeder screw, and one for air venting. You also need some fluid in the bottle to cover the end of the hose and prevent air from getting back into the system. To bleed brakes with this method, you fill up the master cylinder with fluid, then attach the hose to the bleeder screw and open it. Then you pump the brake pedal a few times until you see no air bubbles in the hose. You close the bleeder screw and repeat on each wheel, making sure you top off the master cylinder each time. The third method is vacuum pump bleeding. This is the quickest and most expensive way to bleed brakes by yourself. You need a vacuum pump that looks like a squirt gun, but instead of squirting water, it sucks in air or fluid. You also need a container to collect the old fluid. To bleed brakes with this method, you fill up the master cylinder with fluid, then connect the vacuum pump to the bleeder screw and form a seal. Then you open the bleeder screw and use the pump to suck out the old fluid and air until you see fresh fluid coming out. You close the bleeder screw and repeat on each wheel, making sure you top off the master cylinder each time. The fourth method is reverse bleeding. This is an unconventional but effective way to bleed brakes by yourself. You need a syringe that can hold enough fluid for one wheel, and a hose that fits over both the syringe nozzle and the bleeder screw. To bleed brakes with this method, you fill up the syringe with fluid, then attach it to the bleeder screw and open it. Then you push the plunger all the way down until it seals off the hole and release it. This forces fluid into the system from the bottom up, pushing out any air bubbles along the way. You close the bleeder screw and repeat on each wheel, making sure you top off the master cylinder each time. The fifth method is pressure bleeding. This is a professional and precise way to bleed brakes by yourself. You need a pressure bleeder that attaches to the master cylinder reservoir and creates a constant pressure of about 15 psi. You also need a container to collect the old fluid. To bleed brakes with this method, you fill up the pressure bleeder with fluid, then connect it to the master cylinder reservoir and pressurize the system. Then you move to each wheel and open the bleeder screw until you see fresh fluid coming out. You close the bleeder screw and repeat on each wheel, making sure you top off the pressure bleeder each time. These are the 5 methods to bleed brakes by yourself. As you can see, they are not very difficult or complicated, but they require some patience and attention. You should always check your brake fluid level and quality regularly, and replace it when it gets dirty or contaminated. This will ensure your brakes perform well and last longer. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. And if you want to learn more about mechanics for motorcycles and cars, check out our website racexd.com, where you can find a variety of courses that will teach you everything you need to know. Whether you want to fix your own vehicle, start a career as a mechanic, or just improve your skills and knowledge, we have the right course for you. Visit racexd.com today and enroll in one of our courses. You won't regret it. Thank you for watching Racext Academy. I'm Dave, your instructor and guide. See you in the next video. Bye for now.